of Russia.
So she ran into the bedroom, she was struck down, it was her doom. You okay? So you okay? Are you okay? 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 Annie? You okay? When you tell us that you okay? That the side of the window, that is not you. I can see no really. Take me to your heart, to the blessings, I'm a confident. Then you ran into the bedroom, it was shut down, it was shut down. Annie, you okay? Annie, you okay? Are you okay? Annie, you okay? Annie, you okay? Are you okay? Annie, you okay? You okay? Are you okay? You've been hit by a smooth brain.
Hey, g'day smoothies. I've been calling you smooth criminals, and I'm like, I don't know if I can call my beautiful subs criminals. Now, the most important thing, I've got to put a link in the chat for the fabulous Jenn Lu, who I did message last night because had a very full-on day at work. Got home, jumped on the world clock, and worked out that if we had gone live at 7 or 8 o'clock my time last night, it was 4 a.m. for Jen. So then I set a live for like 10:30, which was still really early for Jen. And then I was like, I've had a really heavy couple of days at work. There's no way I can do a live at 10:30. So sorry I didn't get the message, Jen, but I'm going to drop the link in chat for, I look at Dorbs. I'm in my rompers. This is my little, these are little overalls that I potter around the house in when I'm at home on a day off. They're not ideal though. Like anyone who wears overalls knows it's a pain in the bum if you have, middle-aged bladder. You've got to go to the loo all the time. So I generally walk around with one strap completely undone. But I made an effort. I did it up for this. All right, the link for Jen. We're going to have a bit of fun today, Groovers. We've got plenty of time. We can talk about anything to do with Idaho 4 murders, including theories based on facts and using common sense. It's okay to speculate, but let's focus on the facts. I'm happy to open up the panel a bit later on as well. I know that Jen's got another live that she's a panelist on too, so I was thinking it might be cool to wrap it up and go and see what she's up to on someone else's channel. Possibly. We'll find out what she's doing there. You love a romper and overalls. They're very comfy. They are very, and they're really, they've got like the Thai fishing pants, the dropped crotch. Come up anytime you want, Jen. Come on up. I mean, there's been a lot happening, obviously. There's so many different things we can talk about. It's a very weird summer's day here in Tasmania. Will I be able to show you? It's pissing down, guys. It's absolutely bucketing down. Hello, Jen. I might put my headphones on. Hello, gorgeous.
Can you hear me okay?
I can. If I put my headphones on, it'll be even better. I'm sorry you didn't get my message, though.
It's because YouTube is always instigating, Tor. They're just troublemakers.
It's YouTube being troublemakers.
They're instigators. They're always causing shit where there doesn't need to be shit.
I look like a primary school teacher, according to Shady Man. Watch that, Shady Man.
I don't care. I think you look completely adorable. I love rompers and overalls. I have both of them.
Yes, I've got a little pinafore, a red corduroy one that's the same sort of concept, and I love that too. But I feel naughty and young in them, I must admit. But I wasn't going for the primary school teacher look, Shady Man. I was going for the comfort. Now, where are you, Jen? It sounds like you've got some wind or something where you are. You're sitting out on your...
I'm on the porch.
On the porch.
Nice.
Nice.
It's still so really pretty right now in Florida. We're not getting that gross weather just yet where it's like really foggy. And I mean, Florida, for the most part, is sunny, but it's not cold.
Check out the Tasmanian summer.
Gorge. Love it. Are you raining?
It's pouring. It's really windy. My house is on stilts, so occasionally That's Sunny's tower that the subs bought her for Christmas a couple of years ago. If occasionally I go like this, it's not me on the chair, it's the house. It might be going, but it's not. The wind isn't making my house move too much. But yeah, it's really cold, wet, miserable. Welcome to a Tasmanian summer.
Oh,
Crazy. Australians.
For summer if you want.
We normally have a Florida summer. We don't know what's going on. We're on the tail end. We've had the El Nino weather phenomena crossing across mainland Australia for a long time, but in the last couple of months we're now on the tail of it as well, or the edge of it. So yeah, we've been flooding. We don't get rain down here where I am a lot. I get water delivered. I'm on tank water.
Wow.
But my tank is currently just overflowing. My garden is green. Normally Australia by now in summer is a golden colour, the whole country. Not here. Look at it. It's like a tropical rainforest.
Well, this is good, though, because last year you guys had all, well, I guess it was really this year, wasn't it? At the beginning of the year, you guys had all those fires. So this is...
Oh, no, the fires were a couple of years ago. We've been underwater for 2 years now.
Wait.
There's been so much flooding. The really bad bushfires were the start of summer 2020.
Oh, okay, because I was thinking we were talking about him during the Johnny Depp trial, and I know for a fact that thing was this year.
Yeah, right? I think I got the year wrong. I think it was 2020, the really bad ones.
Okay, okay.
Maybe it was 2021, but it's 2 years ago, nearly. So I'm just going to say a few good days to the Groovers in chat. I was thinking of a nickname because we've got the Groovers on my other channel that's slowly going backwards because it's stuck in some will never be picked up on the algorithm alleyway now. But I was thinking, I've been calling them smooth criminals, but it's like I can't really do that. We're not criminals. So I was thinking smoothies.
I do like smoothies.
I think I like it too. My mum used to say about really good looking men that were a little bit sleazy, she used to call them smoothers.
I was thinking smoothers actually, because you got the groovers, now you can have the smoothers.
Groovers and the smoothers. Right. Smoothers it is. Good morning, Joman. How are you, Groover? Shady Man, she's called us Smuggers. We've also got the lovely Francesca and beautiful Scout rolling on in. Scout, there's your little gratuitous sunny grab. Hasn't moved a millimetre since I last went live. She literally lives there, Jen. That's where Sunny lives. On an ottoman. Oh, we've lost Jen. Oh, we've totally lost Jen. Florida, the weather might be nice, but the reception is shithouse. She'll be back, hopefully. Emily, hello, beautiful. Are you copping this up north too? Crazy weather. Beautiful Ruth, wacky DNA. Yeah, do wacky DNA. Apparently, if you get 50% likes of who's watching, so at the moment there's 10 people. If we have 5 likes, that's how you get on the algorithm. Doesn't matter how big or small your channel is or how big or small your crowd is. That's the magic trick. So here's Jen. Welcome back.
Well, what had happened was I had my finger hovering and I sneezed and I hit the back button.
And prematurely evacuated. After you disappeared, I said, Jen's in Florida where the weather is fabulous, but the reception is shithouse.
No, it's really not. You know what it is? I'm on my phone and I usually use earbuds to listen to like YouTube and stuff like that when I clean, but the cord has gotten caught too many times on like drawers, doors, towels, just how you know how it is. I'm clumsy as fuck, Tori. I mean, I'll trip over air.
So am I. I honestly don't know how I haven't killed myself with some of the speckies I've done in my life, honestly. Like even one time I was out in the garden with my mum and I was pissing myself laughing saying, do you know what really cracks me up? When people step on rakes that are lying on the grass and the handle, swings up and knocks them in the head. And I turned around and stepped on a rake. Like, we had a lot of land. How was there a rake right behind me? And my mum, honestly, the pair of us we went up. We went up. lot of people saying welcome back to you too, Jen. Hey, before I forget, Flog, I know you've got another panel coming up today. I think it's 12 o'clock my time, so like in an hour and a half. What are you up to? What is it?
Lynn asked me to be on her panel because she wants to talk about AWP and their influence, whether it was good or bad on the Kylie Rodney case and YouTube kind of in general, and whether what kind of similar to what you've been speaking of. And I was asked to do homework. She asked me to come up with a really great true crime channel that's not, in our little, the crazy Watts Island offshoot, that network. And the only one I could think of was you.
Oh, wow.
I was like, I'm totally promoting Tor because you are fair, you're balanced, you bring humor. Quite honestly, it's like you remind me a lot of me. Like we have a lot in common in the way we view things. We also might have an opposing view, and if we do, we can talk it out
through
like adults. Right. Mainly.
I have just dropped the link into chat for the panel that Jen will be on, and it's it's Checkmate Humanity, is Lynn, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, the one I actually did a parody of.
Yes. I'm excited to say that I want you to promote Smooth Criminal. I just want to know what happen.
And then she'll look at my channel and she'll be like, "Oh my God, that's the girl that took the piss out of me as Lindley."
Actually, I think that Lynn will have a good sense of humor about it.
And look, to be honest with her, I don't think Mel was mean being Natasha either, because I mean, with her, it was genuinely her constantly just trying to get some attention and be heard, and Natasha just ignoring her. Like that was the gist of what I was doing when I was Lindley. Was like she had the little fishing rod, and Mel said, "What are you doing? Are you fishing for compliments?" And I was, what did she say? "No, you're sad fishing." And I said, "No, I'm fishing for attention and compliments." Like it
was when you kept slipping down out of the chair. Going lower and lower. That was my favorite part.
I mean, she probably didn't appreciate me taking the piss out of her on Small and doing when I did the song. What was that guy that used to be on Natasha's Siren? And I did Oh Holy Night as Lynn or Lindley and Dear Siren's Birth. She may not have appreciated that so much.
You know what, Lynn, I don't know her that well, but I think she would have a pretty good sense of humor. Look, if you or Mel or both of you guys ever parodied me, I would take it as a compliment because you guys are hilarious.
I've just put the avatar of me being Lynn up on the screen. That's Lindley. That's Lindley.
I like it also when you would put what were you doing with the blow dryer thingy? That part was funny too. The whole thing was hilarious to me. And Mel with her hat.
I think she had a new haircut or something, and she'd mentioned it. Like I actually only watched the two of them, not even a full live. I didn't have a lot of references, but I think she'd just had her hair done. And she mentioned it about 8 times because Natasha ignored it every time. And she was obviously really happy about her new hair, which, I mean, everyone feels amazing when they've just had their hair done. And people in the chat,
bless her heart.
Yeah, and people in chat were telling her she looked lovely, and Natasha wasn't reading any of the chat out that said anything about her hair. So I think that was what the hair dryer references were for. I mean, I did use a Dyson fan as a hair dryer and put it over my hair, but
the whole thing was hilarious to me, and I really got to say, I don't know. I've never seen Lynn be like take herself too seriously. You know what I'm saying? I think that honestly, I think if Natasha watched it,
they were the days, shady man,
didn't take herself so freaking seriously, she would see that it was funny. That a parody is nothing more than an exaggeration of you. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's not like you're straight mimicking or mocking. It's nothing like that. And I think that if she just, I don't know, calmed the fuck down, she'd see the
and
humor
look,
in it because
I
it's
mean the
hilarious.
beauty, yeah, and the thing, and Natasha actually came in when we were live and said she loved it. So this
I don't
whole
know.
thing now about being butthurt. Did you know though that her daughter, and I imagine it's been born, she's been born by now, has a daughter called Lindley, a
Yes,
granddaughter.
yes. Yeah, she's
And
just,
I
she's
take
brand
full
new.
credit. I take full credit for that.
I think it's adorable.
I think she told her daughter, she said, "Oh, there's these two bloody Australians that are not even funny, making fun of me and Lynn, and they're called Natalia and Lindley." And the daughter was like, "Lindley, that's a really cute name." I'm taking credit for it.
There you go.
But no, and look, I didn't know much about her at the time. It really was just my observation of how she was just constantly bulldozed by Natasha, not surprisingly, but the fact that she was able to put up with it for so many hours, I respected her patience. But I must admit, I did look into her a little bit afterwards and listen to her, sort of vlogging and how open she is about her mental health issues and stuff. And I felt for a moment, I was like, shit, I don't want to make fun of that. But then I was like, I wasn't making fun of mental health issues. I've got my own mental health issues, but
who doesn't?
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, thank God, that I was really, my whole focus was just more about how she was trying so hard to contribute and Natasha just didn't give a shit.
No, she didn't. Bless her heart. I mean, yeah.
Well, the name was, the Lindley name was a joke for Natasha. No, that's Natasha's granddaughter is Lindley. They did before her old channel got taken down, there was a video of them revealing the nursery and it panned around the room and then it panned across the wall and it said Lindley. It was spelled differently though. It was Lynlee. And Mel sent it to me. She's like, check this out. And I couldn't believe it. Full credit for us. Blank slate. Good to see you, Groover, as well. So yeah, I've dropped the link and I'll drop it again a few more times as well throughout the live because I know you'll have to bail at some point, but it'd be interesting because I've just been listening to the latest from Adventures with Purpose and the whole video claiming this guy's legitimate and I've got pretty strong opinions about that too.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I'm just so sickened by this constant need for every story to be the worst possible scenario. And with Kylie Rodney, it was an accident. It was a tragic mistake that she made. It cost her life at the end. And this guy hasn't even been verified as working for who he says he is working for. And again, it's still pushing that we want foul play to be the final outcome in this story. And it's like, how disgusting and warped is a brain that they're not going to rest until it's declared foul play. They want the story to be even worse than it is.
Right, like as if she wasn't scared enough, because she's just a kid for Pete's sake, right? But you want it's not good enough that she was scared. Now you want her to be in terror. Like, I don't get that. I don't understand it, and I will never understand it. I'll never understand it.
No regard for the victims at all. And that's always my focus. Like I've said several times on my channel lately, like if we were all sitting around my dining room table having an amazing meal and drinking some wine and we were talking about the Idaho 4, obviously people would come out with all sorts of theories or what their hunches were, what they thought might have happened. And that's fine. Like, that's human nature. It's okay to do that. But I'm responsible with my channel in that I want to look at the facts. And that's where this horror movie killer theory has emerged, just looking at the information we've got and being well aware it's a fragment of what the cops know. But yeah, I think, any channel that you watch on YouTube, and this isn't just for you, Jen, but just anyone generally who's covering crime or true crime, have a look at what their focus is, like what's their motive. And if their motive is to present something always clearly with the victims in mind and being reasonable and rational and talking about facts, stick with them. But if the motive is the Joseph Morris style or the channels that want somebody's tragic to death to be something even worse than it already is, get a run away.
Right. That's what I do, because I feel like, so with the Idaho 4, we don't know all that much, but I will say this. I'm always amazed at how people who follow true crime, you can tell the people who are newly into following true crime and and the people who aren't. And it's
I call them, if we want to distinguish while we're chatting about them, I call them OGs, the OG true crime crowd that discuss cases that were solved or unsolved or missing persons or even happening at the time. OG, theorising, speculating, call it whatever you want, but based on the facts and the info that we had. And then the new guys, I'm calling them the sleuthers, the true sleuthers. They're into true sleuthing. They're not into crime at all. They're sleuths, and they're bad. A lot of them.
Yeah, it feels like to me when some of the sleuthing is going on, it isn't based in how crime scene investigation is handled or moving forward, like the law, the prosecute. You know what I mean? That's what's frustrating to me, and I think that's why I like to cover the trials, because I've learned a lot. Like, I didn't understand what the legal definition of hearsay was. So it's like, and you tell me if I have it right, Tor. So if I tell you something, all right, and they put you on the stand, you cannot tell what I told you if it goes to the truth of the matter, because is no way to prove that that's exactly what I said to you, right?
Correct. Yeah, okay. Unless someone else was there as well and they've got the exact same story and it's corroborated, and then it's no longer hearsay. So you could get both of those. You could that evidence could be admitted with another witness backing it up, especially if it was like a really credible witness, like a cop or somebody that wasn't dodgy and suspicious. But if you,
just kidding.
Exactly. But if you said something, in front of a group of people, and I was a defense lawyer, and it was critical to getting my client acquitted, I'd be calling every single person in the room who heard you say that, and I'd be interviewing all of them, and the ones that said the exact same words you used, they'd be straight on the stand to back that. Yeah,
that's what I would do, and because I want people in the United States, obviously, and and I learned something. Other countries don't cover trials the way that the United States does, but I've learned a lot about our justice system, and in a good way. I've learned some, things that are not so good, but for the most part, it's been really a good experience, and I want people to understand what a crime really entails. It's more than just this person has been unalived, right? Or they're not alive when we arrive. And now we've got to figure out, it goes all the way through to getting the victim justice. And I want people to understand what our justice system is and why certain things are admitted into evidence where certain other things are not. And I always tell people, I'm not a lawyer. I'm learning this right along with you guys. I'm watching it just like you are. And then I hit the Google for the legal definitions, and I will read and Google every other word if I have to understand and be able to explain it.
And that's how OG true crime people operated too. Like, when we had facts, people would research the fact. They wouldn't Google and get up somebody's Instagram and read every comment and go, oh, that looks suspicious, and I'm going to screenshot and put it out there and go, check this person out, they're dodgy, and then we're all going to go down a rabbit warren after them. With the OG true crime, the facts that we had, if there were certain words that we used, or there was some sort of descriptor of forensic evidence, or a reference to another case, we would all go off reading the other case, or how to decipher forensic evidence, or what that word actually meant, or finding a specialist who could explain it, or looking for a YouTube video these days of someone explaining. And that's the difference between these two communities. You've got the people that are looking at the facts. And the fact of the matter is, with the Idaho 4, we do not have enough facts to solve this crime at all. The cops might, they might be pretty close. We don't know. But the public, they are not going to solve this crime based on what we know. No way.
Oh gosh, no. Oh God,
it's such a tiny percentage of it.
Right.
Hey,
ABR, my biggest, I'm very methodical, but I learned this from watching so many true crime documentaries and listening to the people who investigate the cases. I've listened to so many detectives. And one thing that I would really like to impart on anybody watching right this minute or later on the replay is that law enforcement, this is their job. This is what they are trained to do. They are humans, and humans are not infallible, okay? But because one case, like I'm not jaded on law enforcement because I feel like the West Memphis 3 case was mishandled, right? I recognize
Delphi, clearly.
Delphi, right? I'm not jaded because I think that on the whole,
sometimes people make mistakes.
Correct. And I will say this, every single documentary or true crime show I've ever watched, the running theme with all of the law enforcement is they take these cases with them for the rest of their lives. That solving the case and getting justice for the victim never leaves their brains. It never, it's always there. And so we're like only a month into a quadruple homicide. Do you know how in a college town, at a house that was a known hangout for kiddos?
For many kiddos.
Yeah.
And I'm not meaning to sound like I'm cutting off, but I want to jump in too so we can bounce backwards and forwards. This is one of the things I had on my list to talk about. But yeah, the criticism of LE is really doing my head in. It's one thing if I'm listening to a creator and they go off about it, I'm jumping ship straight away. Same with media. The media reporting of this case in America is so irresponsible. It's pitching that LA are incompetent as well, and it's also feeding all of these sleuths who are crapping on about how the case is going to go cold and everything else. We all know this is going on, but what really irritates me is one, the FBI are involved too. Like, so all these people that are going off about the Moscow PD and how inept they think they are. What do they think the FBI are? Because they're working on it as well, like the best of the best in the country. So if things are moving at this pace and the FBI is involved, then wouldn't that suggest things are going as planned, as they should be? Yes. But the other thing that really irritates me about this LE thing is that the chief officer, Lanier, has said on several occasions now that a lot of the first responding cops to that house are really young cops, like it's their first call out to a murder. And is anyone sparing a thought for how traumatized these young cops are going to be? And also him, like the senior cops in that town as well. No one's sparing a minute to think, holy shit, like if I walked into a house and saw a graphic murder scene, just one person, let alone 4 young bodies just brutalized. It would take me a little while just to get my head around taking all that in and processing it and then going, right, now I've got to focus in on my job. So for all these people that are criticizing them, spare a thought for what they've been through and how they've managed to regroup and get on with doing their job so quickly despite what they've seen. And I think
all the criticism too.
Yeah, I think they're copying so much criticism, and it's like, maybe everyone should just shut the fuck up and send them a really positive tweet. Don't call them because they're getting bombarded. They're very active on their Facebook page. You can easily click a like. There might be an email address. You can just send an email saying, keep going, guys. We know you've got this. Because nobody's ever, while they're sitting up there ripping them to shreds and saying it's taking too long, based on what? It's not long at all. It's 4 weeks. It's not going to go cold in 4 weeks either. No. But how about you actually sit there for a second and think what these cops have gone through? I mean, it's totally related, but unrelated, but we had an accident in Tasmania last year that took 6 lives of kids. 6 kids died when a jumpy castle was picked up by the wind and these kids were like launched into the air and 6 of them were killed. It was a primary school in the northwest of Tassie called Hillcrest. But
Oh,
one of the things that, I mean, obviously it was horrific. The kids died, and they came out with that they announced that 2 kids had died very early on. But
right.
there was a photo that was released not long after, and it was of these 2 young cops, female cops, sitting on a hill just looking absolutely devastated. It was their first ever call out as cops. And we talked about the impact on those 2 cops as much as we did about the families and everybody else. Like our channel was very aware, and that photo was just so tragic to see how these 2 girls, and they clearly had obviously just gone and sat somewhere where they thought they'd be away from the media and everyone else. But it ended up, I
Yeah,
mean, they did get asked if the photo could be published, and it was.
right.
But that really, like, we were all conscious of that too. We all felt for them as well. And I'm so saddened. I haven't heard one person on YouTube yet saying, where's the encouragement for these cops? Where's the mindfulness of the horror that they saw? Like, everyone's so quick to criticize. It's like a restaurant. People send shitty meals back all the time, but how often do they compliment the chef because the meal was good?
Right. Exactly. You're right. You're exactly right, Tor.
Oh,
Absolutely.
see you, Miss Kay. Thanks for popping in. No, dedication doesn't spell competence, Joman, but there's no reason to say that they're incompetent, like at the moment either. It doesn't. It just because some cops are crappy doesn't mean all are, and it doesn't mean that because some cops are good, all are good either. But where's
Right.
this? Why do we have this incredibly high standard and expect perfection, especially when they've been criticised for 4 weeks on that they haven't arrested someone? Why don't
Right.
people understand the most important thing to do before you arrest someone is have a rock solid case that will guarantee they are convicted as well? Isn't that what we all want if we're into true crime? The
It's
bad
what I
guys
would
to get
want.
locked away? Yeah.
Right. The right bad guy, not just any
Yeah.
bad guy. The right one.
Or the right guy, but not enough evidence, so he walks free and does it again if they
Exactly.
process it all too quickly.
And that's happened before. The
Yeah,
people
a lot.
people don't realize how tricky the American justice system really is. It's all about the loophole and the one I that wasn't dotted or the one T that wasn't crossed. And that's all it takes. Remember, when you go to prosecute a crime in the United States, the prosecution has the burden of proof. They have to
Mm-hmm.
convince all 12 jurors. The
Yep.
defense only needs one.
Mm-hmm.
They only have to convince one. That's it.
Yep.
That's all it takes.
Yep.
And
I know.
then if it, let's say it goes, I don't know if Idaho has the death penalty anymore or not. I can't remember, but let's just say for argument's sake that they do.
Let me
Let's
have a
say that
look.
they convict that let's say that they arrest somebody and the person is found guilty, they're convicted, they're sentenced to death. In the United States of America, when you get a death
Oh, hang on a second.
sentence,
Sorry, Jen.
okay.
This is so weird. It was reinstated. From
Oh,
1976, the US Supreme Court reinstated the death penalty. Oh, wait, I said specifically for Idaho. Wait a minute. Hang on. Um, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I was excited
no,
because I
you're
thought I'd
good.
found. This is such a weird article. The death penalty was established in 1864. Oh my God, this is like the longest article ever, and it's taking forever to load. In 1864, blah, 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 blah. Capital punishment was reinstated on July the 7th, 1973. And then that's the end of the article. So is it still current? I don't know. Sorry.
Well, see, each
I'd rather
state
listen
is
to
allowed.
you.
Okay, so each state makes their own rules, right? So we have the
Yeah.
federal government and federal law, but we also have individual state
And
laws.
that's
So
the same here. Yeah,
right,
that's the
each
same
state is
here.
a little bit different, right? So I can't, but let's just say for argument's sake, because this is something that pertains to the legal system in the United States, period. If there is the death penalty, if the case
They
or if the
have
state,
death row. They have death row. I'm assuming that they definitely still have it.
okay,
It definitely,
so yeah,
yeah.
because otherwise they would have been commuted to life. All right, so bottom line is this: when somebody gets sentenced to death, they have automatic appeals. So you know, at the end of a
Mhm.
trial, when you hear the attorney, the judge tell the defense, you have X amount of days to file notice. It's not for them to file the whole ass appeal, just that they intend to appeal, right? Usually 30 days. But in a death penalty case, those appeals are automatic. That is the United States' way of having a checks and balance system. So if anything went wrong during the trial, somebody's rights were violated, there was a juror that should not have been on the jury, yada, 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 all the little things, that's the checks and balance. Does it always work? No, it's not. The system is comprised of human beings, again, who are not infallible. So, but that's how we do it here. And so this, justice takes time. Good justice. Justice rushed is justice denied.
Absolutely.
And that's what's important.
In my former guise as a criminal defense lawyer, there was nothing better than an unprepared prosecutor for me and my client.
Yeah.
You can almost feel that you were going to. So, look, Idaho hasn't performed a death penalty execution since 2012, but the mention in that previous article I was reading out about the US Supreme Court, there was a stay on executions up until the 1st of April this year. So they do have, like here, like our federal government and our our high court does have seniority over the state's Supreme Court. So. And I actually studied law in Canada, Australia, and the US when I was at uni, and they're very similar systems.
Okay.
But there was some sort of stay on executions up until April Fool's Day, weirdly. I wonder if that was something to do with COVID, though.
Oh, I don't know.
Kind of bizarre. Kind of weird. Just reel back, way back. A comment that you made earlier, we were going down how differently cases are reported in other countries. So, like, in Australia, we've got ridiculously strict privacy laws, and as a result, we don't have televised trials. There's a lot of civil tribunal hearings and local government council meetings, sometimes that are televised that you can sit in and watch. Boring as batshit. Why anyone would, I don't know. And that's why so many people outside of the US do actively follow crimes that are occurring and unraveling in the States, just because of the extra amount of information we get.
Yes.
But I did have an article earlier that just to prove a point as well, just to show, and this is a very simplistic example, but just to show the reporting differences. So this is Australia. We've got the Australian Broadcasting Commission, so we've got an ABC as well.
Ooh.
But if you ever see that little logo up the top left-hand corner, that will let you know it's the Aussie ABC.
Okay.
But this was just a little example I thought of because I'd read this article and I was like, oh, I've got to point this out. And then weirdly, when you mentioned how differently the cases and stuff are covered, but in this article, and this was from was updated on the 29th of November, and there may be even a more recent update. I mean, I refreshed it earlier, but we still have the surviving roommates' faces blurred out. See that in the photo? Whereas I've seen the full photo. And then even if you go down into the article, they start to talk about the two housemates who were asleep on the first floor. Look at this sentence. The ABC is choosing not to name the survivors to protect the young women's privacy. You wouldn't see that in an American article about this, would you? I've lost Jen again. and the same as the UK too. Isn't that interesting though, guys? Like, we could literally bring up any case in the US media at the moment that's covering the Idaho 4 murders, and you would see their names in the article as well. But the fact that our media too even write, we're choosing not to name the survivors to protect the young women's privacy. I find that really interesting. Just to show people in other parts of the world how differently things are done. And it all stems back to these privacy laws that we have that are designed to protect victims in particular. Christine G, that's me. Hello, Groover. Hi to anyone else wandering in. We've got a good little crowd gathering. And I do have the lovely Jenn Lu keeping me company, but she just prematurely evacuated. What? Can you have the link again? Absolutely gorgeous. Come back. And well, I mean, it probably appears dignified too to people outside of Australia and the UK, where this is how things are reported. And look, I think that it is quite dignified too, but it is also because of our privacy laws. They don't want to do anything irresponsible and get sued. She's back.
I don't know what my deal is tonight. I'm so sorry. But I heard everything that you said. And yes, that is a huge difference in the way that this case has been covered, because those girls' names have been released weeks ago by the media.
I mean, here's another photo directly under. Again, their names are blurred out. Yes. Yeah, it's just it's pretty interesting. And I mean, this article too is very much just going through what we know at the moment. It's it's a very factual sort of article. There's no sensationalizing in it or anything like that. But yeah, it was just funny that I saw it earlier and I was like, oh, I've got to leave that up because I want to mention to everyone or show everyone the difference in reporting. Even though it's in another country, we still will protect.
Well, yeah, even if it's in another country, you'll still have access to the
all
internet.
The info.
It's not like you can't look. You know what I'm saying? And they don't, but they're not going to help you look. They're not going to help you dig on these victims, which I like that about Australia.
Yeah.
I understand the need for transparency, right? I get that part, but it's a fine line between transparency and compromising the integrity of the case. And I don't want to see that either.
And I think we're going to, and that's why I think all these channels that are starting to be, are starting to take a stricter approach with their channels and, not sort of allowing all this wild, crazy speculation. I mean, I'm choosing to do that at the cost of subscribers, but subscribers aren't the reason I do this. Like, I do this for the like-minded people that come along and discover us along the way. But I'm actually terrified because I can see it's going to happen. And I think that there's, with the states, like whether there is some sort of controls that can be put into place before something horrible happens, because I can see an innocent person. We know of numerous cases where innocent people have been falsely accused and have ended their lives. We're also potentially going to see guilty people back on the streets committing crimes again. Like, there's so many horrible ramifications for this. And the fact that so many people online are still being irresponsible, even when now you've got the Moscow PD publicly saying this sleuthing online speculation has to stop. Please stop it. And they don't give a shit.
No,
They're still doing it.
No.
And and that's the thing that's really heartbreaking, because it's like breaking to me, because I know what it takes. We all know, unfortunately, what it takes for people to change, and something bad has to happen to them for them to suddenly care about it and want it to stop. Well, not everyone, because, so far, touch wood, nothing horrific has happened in my immediate family, but I'm also, I guess, the lawyer in me, and I'm probably a bit of a nerd when it comes to legal stuff, and also protecting innocent people that are being falsely accused. Like, there's so many people that get affected by this sort of stuff, and what will it take for this to stop?
Well, isn't that the intent of law anyways? It's not just to put away the guilty, it's also to protect the innocent.
Capital R Men. I don't know who you are. Welcome, Capital R Men. Do you know of David Loach, Jenn Lu? Have you heard of David Loach? He's seen his 15-second clip. He's big and strong.
Huh.
Oh, is this some theory of some other person that's now being accused of being the murderer, or?
I have no idea who that is, because I went off in a completely different direction today and did a little horror watching homework, but it made me think of a different case, and that maybe we're looking at this case a little bit wrong. Not that we're not that it's not, it could be something akin to somebody doing something like a horror movie, right? But perhaps we're looking at the gender of the perpetrator wrong. Because you know what I thought of?
Are you thinking of Jodi Arias?
I am. And Travis and what she did to him. And I remember that I went and looked at those pictures today. And now I took
26 or 27. 27, yeah. And he was conscious at the time too. He was awake.
Sure was. And he was much, much bigger than she, number one. And number two, now
good to have you here, Capital.
This was one person, right? It wasn't four, and I understand that. But also, Jodi did what she did, got herself cleaned up, chunked the camera in the washing machine with the SD card, dummy, and then took off and drove all the way back to Utah. So exhaustion, I was thinking about that too. Like how the body will continue to pump adrenaline, even though you should be physically worn out. That was a fight because he had defensive wounds.
Yeah.
And I even took into account when I was looking at the pictures that they were going to look a little bit more gruesome because he sat for a minute. So I took more than a minute, but I took that into consideration. But some of the autopsy photos have him fairly cleaned up. And so, but you can still see the size of the wounds. Yeah. And it made me think, is it possible? And then something that the father said, sadistic. We're looking for a sadistic man. Now, I understand why he would think that, right? Because it's his, and to be honest with you, I probably would too. But when we're talking like true crime, sadistic means something else in the true crime world. And there is no evidence that this person was truly sadistic. There were nobody, as far as they've dispelled that people were tied and gagged. The Moscow police have come out and said they've squashed that rumor. There was no element of torture, and that's what's sadistic, what a sadistic killer would, that's in their wheelhouse. It's not, although what happened to them it was painful and terrifying and all of those things. It doesn't fall under the category of a sadistic killer because there was no element of torture on any level.
Yes.
And that's important.
Yes. I'm still bummed because I mean, Jodi Arias obviously was someone that I thought of along the way too, because I kind of, as soon as you said another case, but my hinky meter isn't spending much on this case already. And yeah, I mean, wouldn't that be insane if we had this female psychopath that was capable of killing 4 people?
Well, okay, that's the thing that got me thinking about this.
That's a plot twist I wasn't expecting, Jenn Lu.
Well, it happens in Scream.
Yes.
So that's what made me think of it. If somebody were emulating a horror movie, there's, what if that's the other element of the twist? Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And they did leave 2 survivors, which is interesting because if you think about it, just based on what we actually know that law enforcement has released, all 6 people were together in that home at the same time. All 6 of them. That is a mighty, bold, brazen thing to do when you're only armed with a knife. I don't care if it's a Rambo knife. I don't care if only if Rambo comes attached with the knife would I not think that was bold and brazen. But for one single person to do that, this was not a spur of the moment. This is something that I believe personally that this person fantasized about for a very long time.
Me too. And I think it was really planned. I mean, there was some information that was coming out right before I went live about footage of this alleged Elantra or a white car matching its description at a service station 4 miles away on video, on CCTV
I
video.
saw that.
And I instantly looked at it and went, yeah, right, this was planned so well. And I said it yesterday on my live. Whoever planned this, they would have had a full tank of petrol. No one's going to go 4 miles from after slaughtering 4 people and go, oh, I might just pop in and get some petrol and a Mars bar. Do you know what I mean? Like, that does
Brings
not
me
make
back
sense.
to Jody Arias. Jody thought of that. Jody rented a vehicle, and not only did she fill the tank, but she brought gas cans, full gas cans. So at no point during the trip did she ever actually have to stop for gas. What got her caught was the camera and the mileage on her rental vehicle. That's what got, and also the fact that she's, a psycho hose beast and guilty. That's what got her caught. But she did plan for that. She didn't want to be on camera anywhere.
Absolutely. And I mentioned yesterday, Chris Watts was going to be undone anyway because he was just a bumbling idiot and one of the worst criminals ever. But he had not planned, he'd planned the killings, in my opinion, but he hadn't planned the aftermath. Like, he didn't think that disposing of the bodies through it all. He didn't think about getting rid of her handbag, and so it looked like she'd taken her bag and phone with her. Like, he made so many very basic errors.
Yes.
But this person with the Idaho 4, if it was a random attack and, sort of sticking to these sort of just the random attack theory rather than, and serial killer potentially theory rather than somebody was known to them, then, and just relying on the facts that we've got so far. I know that Capital R Men is putting, well, it's pointless to you because you're putting heaps of information in the chat that's all based on nothing that's a verified fact yet. You've come to the wrong channel, Capital R Men. We actually discuss facts here. You're welcome to stick around, but it's pointless to you because we're not sleuthing with information that hasn't been verified. Well, it is a bit rude, but he can still stick around, or he or she can stick around. I don't mind that. Yes. But
I don't know. I don't know. I don't understand what anybody would really. What more we could be doing. I'm sure if you.
There's a million. There's a million channels doing what we're not doing, and and that's fine.
Yeah, do you?
To me,
I'm not just going to pull shit out of my ass. Sorry, just not going to happen. No. My brain doesn't work like that.
And look, Capital R Men, initially you gave a name, and I was like, all right, well, that's probably something to look into and wait for it to be verified. But until then, it's not going to be included in any theorizing here because we are using facts. But to me, Capital R Men is the sort of person that goes to a Pearl Jam concert wearing a Nirvana t-shirt. You're at the wrong concert, mate. Do you get that analogy?
Yes, I got that analogy. Yeah.
Well, they go to a vegan restaurant and complain there isn't any meat on the menu. Like, it's just, you're welcome to stick around. I like differing opinions, but yeah, if you come here for sleuthing and not actually sticking to verified facts to come up with a theory at the moment, then it ain't the place for you. Unless you want to have a crack at thinking along the lines of what are the verified facts and is anything I'm saying so far in chat verified, that could be a good reason to stick around too.
I might crack a good joke. You could stick around for that too.
No, look at Ruth. Don't worry, Capital R Men. We forgive you. Look at the little scream face at the end of it, though. And like I said, if we were sitting, Capital R Men, if you're still hanging around, you're probably not because I think you had a little tanty and left. But if you are sticking around, if you are here, if you were a guest at my dining table tonight and we had this beautiful banquet laid out and lots of great wines and stuff, you could put all this stuff into the conversation and we'd all listen to you and chat about it. But I'm not doing that on YouTube because I'm irresponsible sometimes off YouTube, but on YouTube, especially talking about a live case that's being investigated, I'm pretty responsible. Call me conservative, but I am a lawyer. So, but like I said, it wouldn't bother me if we were all sitting around off camera, just having a good old chat and throwing some wild theories out there. Go for it. Bring it on. I'm just not going to do it on YouTube. There's enough channels doing it, and they're part of the problem. They're a huge part of the problem. And somebody very guilty and very violent is going to walk free because of this behavior. or innocent people's lives. I mean, there's kids that had to, I know of one in particular confirmed, their family had to leave Truckee because of all the death threats they were getting and all the abuse they were copying. That is not okay.
No, it's not.
We've watched this mess spiraling out of control on YouTube in the last 4 years, and it's getting worse and worse. Like, it's gone from a spiral. Now it's like, to me, it's like it started out as a little ripple effect, and it's now building up and it's turning into a tsunami. Like, this stuff is getting way out of hand. And I can't think of a case prior to this one where LE have had to repeatedly speak out about the irresponsible antics of people on social media as much as they have. Like, that little video that I did only a couple of weeks ago didn't include the LE in Moscow because at that point they hadn't spoken out about it, but now they have to keep reiterating it. It's in every press conference they put out, every press release they put out, a paragraph about people on social media need to stop the insanity. I've never seen it in another case where where LE have to keep reiterating that point. And the sad thing about it too is that the US media, a lot of the media networks that are clearly not very responsible either, they are feeding the sleuths with the way they're reporting. They're criticizing LE. They're putting people up that are saying stuff that's critical of the investigation. They're putting people up saying it's going cold when it's not. Like, the media are really feeding into the sleuths as well. It's pretty scary.
They've really exploited Mr. Goncalves because he is, and who could blame him? Okay.
Yeah, he's going through absolutely. Hello, beautiful Xana.
And put yourself, this is what I think of. I have kids roughly. My youngest daughter is exactly the same age as Kaylee, same birthday and everything.
Wow.
Everything. Yeah. It tripped me out. Like, it did. And I was immediately snapped into putting myself in those parents' shoes. If somebody on YouTube had dug into my daughter's TikTok or Instagram or Facebook or anything, the way that I saw some YouTubers doing it to these other kids, I would have gone full scorched earth, ending bloodlines, hold my hoops, the whole nine.
Go, Jen, go. And I'd be backing you. I'd be behind you with my little pitchfork running behind you.
I would have been like, Tor, get the bail. Come and argue come and argue my case for me, please, because I need for people to understand why I'm so upset about this. So I would ask people, when you're in private, like Tor said, just around the dinner table or even on a private StreamYard that is never going to see the light of day, and you're just, or in a private chat, just
banding everything about. Why not?
Yeah.
It's human nature. We're curious creatures.
That's human nature. Exactly. Mm-hmm. But I won't do it on my channel because it's hard enough being a true crime creator and saying something, right, and having it twisted, or somebody mishears you, or they take something away from it that you had not intended and you've got to clarify. That's one thing, right? And that happens no matter whether, even when you have the best of intentions and you're only strictly reporting the absolute facts. People misconstrue things. It's human nature. It happens all the time. But magnify that by throwing anything and everything that you hear and just saying, well, we're just speculating, we're just guessing. But the thing is, there's people come in and out of lives all the time. So there are some people that come and they're there right when the live starts, and then they dip out 15 minutes in. And if you don't believe me, go look at your analytics. They will tell you the comings and goings of your audience during your live. It happens all the time. And so you don't want to get to somebody could hear a snippet of something that you're saying, right? And you are just speculating, and you're not meaning anything malicious by just speculating. You're just kicking around theories, right? But somebody hears that, and then they run to the next chat, and then that carries to the next, and to the next, and to the next, and before you know it,
whispers, woo!
Right? Then law enforcement's, having to issue press releases that, and solely to tell people that the rumors and speculation and harassment need to stop or they're going to prosecute.
And they don't care. I mean, I'm going to give an example
They'll care
now.
when they get prosecuted.
Yeah, I wasn't going to mention this guy's name, but I sort of feel I have to give an example of how much this is out of hand and how just a classic example of what's happening on YouTube and why LA are constantly sort of putting out these releases asking for it to stop. And it goes back to here on this channel where I'm happy for people to mention ideas they've got in chat if it's a verified fact. But if it's not, I'm going to say, look, that isn't verified yet. So you might want to rethink where your feelings are at the moment. Down the track, a fact might be verified that proves you were right. But until then, let's not include that in any theories we come up with the tiny bit we know. And like I said a long time ago in the live, we're not going to solve this case on the information that we have because we've got a fraction of it. But the cops have got way more info than we have. I mean, for the fact that we don't, and thank God, know what the crime scene was like itself, like the way investigators read the bodies of the victims and also the crime scene and so on, like that stuff is so crucial to solving a case. And we're not even privy to that, thank goodness, and I hope we never are.
Right.
But one of the kids who has been repeatedly named as the murderer and has had all social media of himself, his family, everybody else, and his name's out there all the time. And there are creators that have done whole lives analysing him and saying that he's this angry, non-high achieving kid, and that's why he would have done it, is Jack S. And the example that I'm using him as an example because everyone has said that this all stemmed from Hoodie Guy, right, at the food truck. Right. And on a very weird, obscure, very underpopulated forum that I'd never heard of before is the only place anyone has ever said the Hoodie Guy is Jack S. And they've run with this. And his identification, like Hoodie Guy's ID and name, has never been officially verified by any reliable sources at all. And in the last 4 weeks, this kid's entire life has been analysed, overanalyzed. There's all sorts of stories going around about him flying to Africa, driving for 5 hours. None of it's verified. Not one thing. Not one of it. Not one thing. Not even that he's Hoodie Guy.
Right.
And you think about the chatter online about that kid. And look, down the track, if facts come out, if he's the guy that did it and he's convicted, great. But for now, he's innocent, and this is bullshit that so many channels are talking about this guy still, and people in chat, even on channels where people say, we're not interested in that because the cops have said for the moment they don't consider he's involved, and we're sticking with that because that's the only fact we know about Hoodie Guy is the cops saying we don't think he's involved. That is the only factual information we've got about Hoodie Guy. That's it. There's still people in the chat going, but he's the obvious suspect, blah, blah, blah. And they don't listen. They don't care. But what about that kid? If he is innocent, his life is screwed now, big time. Like the kids in Truckee. You type in any of those kids' names into Google and all these YouTube videos come up saying that they murdered Kylie Rodney. And that's there for everyone to see for the rest of their lives. If they meet somebody and start dating them and the person's like, oh, I might just do a little Google search on my new boyfriend.
Can you imagine?
Bang. Applying for a job, trying to get into college, anything. He could be killed, Shady Man. He could. I mean, there are people that, and this, you know, is pretty scary too, but there are people that are quite happy to jump in their cars and go to people's houses and do all sorts of horrible things. And that's also where these other YouTubers that keep rocking up outside the homes of, you know, like Brian Laundrie's parents or Quentin Simon's grandmother's house and the stuff that they're doing as well. Like, this is insanity what we're watching at the moment. And it's got nothing to do with OG true crime at all.
Nothing.
This new generation that have all found podcasts and things like that, and true crime these days, like I said, it's true sleuthing. And it's not even, I don't even like using the word true in front of it. It's just sleuthing, irresponsible sleuthing.
Right.
And we're OG true crime. We like facts. Yes. We're constantly mindful of the victims, not just the unfortunate 4 victims in this case who lost their lives, but everyone related to them, all of their friends, they're all victims too.
Right.
And even, in my opinion, those young cops who went out to their first call out to a murder and what they must have seen, they're victims as well. Like, it's,
yeah.
you know, the list of victims extends beyond the 4 kids who died. But so many of these channels aren't even thinking about the 4 kids who died in what they're doing at all.
No.
It's horrifying.
Well,
let's see what some of the people in chat are saying, because we've got a lively chatter, and I do like to check in with what's going on. I just want to go back to when... Don't want to ignore
your chat.
No, and also often there's comments that we can then chat about too. So the lovely Shanna, when she rocked up, I was talking about Ellie, and she thought I was saying Ellie, the name Ellie, and she's like... bloody Aussie bogan accents. She said it's easy to get sucked into the speculation vortex when we have very little verified factual information, aside from 4 beautiful young people being brutally murdered. And that's a perfect comment to have started with, because look, she's pointing out all the speculation nightmare that's happening at the moment, but has also acknowledged the victims in her comment.
Right.
We have good people on this channel. Now, Shanna, you did make this comment, I think, yesterday in my live too, about you think it's going to be solved by genetic DNA genealogy. That's an interesting one, because, see, I am not sure, but for me at the moment, with the facts that we know and the little theory, I feel like this is this person's first offence of this nature and may not even be on the database yet.
Which is why she's saying ancestry, because if you are not on if you don't have a record and you're not in CODIS, they can cross-reference and look at familial DNA. That's why I think that's why she's saying that. So maybe, they can, but it'll be.
But yeah, exactly. But to go on to the lack of the blood trail leaving the house, if you go with my theory that this person was fully covered up, like jumpsuit, hoodie on it, mask, gloves, enclosed feet, and they actually removed all of that while they were still in the house, and they've got, civilian clothing on underneath, mask, the little hazmat-y thing, all goes into the bag with the knife, zip it up. You've left your boots and your jacket, your coat outside on the deck, wherever your entry point was. You walk back through the house in socks, because that's the other thing I noticed. The house has, I'm not sure if they're floating floorboards or actually wooden floorboards, but if you're in socks, you don't hear anyone walking on them. Boots you do. It gets out, puts on the boots and the jacket, walks down around the corner, jumps in the car, off you go. Like, it's possible there's no DNA at the scene.
Oh, well, that's...
No, I'm saying.
Yeah. I mean, it is... I will say this, though. If you think about the brutality of the attack, it was incredibly brutal. It is, even if you take the most stringent, strict forensic countermeasures you can, I still think that there was some type of an exchange between the perpetrator and the victim. Maybe they cut their hand on the knife.
What if they were wearing? Okay, I'm going to keep interjecting with alternates.
Okay.
What if they were wearing like metallic mesh gloves and they didn't cut themselves at all? Like, what if they had gloves on that you couldn't, like the gloves that people wear when they're managing raptors and eagles, so their claws can't get in?
Well,
hardcore gloves.
Right. Maybe they didn't cut themselves, or they did, but they didn't. Right. What about sweat?
Yeah. What if they're in a full, they've got the little
murder by numbers?
I'm picturing like the little hazmat-y type suits you have to wear when you go into hospitals and see people that in ICU and stuff, and they're disposable, but they're quite strong plastic. And then you've got your gloves on and a full mask, and your feet are enclosed. Okay. Where's the sweat going to go? And I reckon this happened very quickly. I reckon this was an in and out.
So you're thinking they did the whole murder by numbers scenario, right? Where they were completely... Do you ever see that movie with Sandra Bullock and Ryan Gosling and Michael Pitt?
No.
Okay.
No, I'll
So
look into it.
these two teenagers took they agreed to do this murder, and they took all kinds of forensic countermeasures. They didn't leave any hair. They didn't leave any DNA, yada, 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 right? All right, so let's say that that's what happened. So then the next thing you would do is try to figure out what weapon was used, right? So then you would, once you figure out, okay, we think it's about like this weapon, then you would start to figure out where the person would buy it. So then you would go to the stores and there's receipts and being filmed,
Yep.
or they would check online who ordered this particular knife. You know what I'm saying? There's other ways, but
What if the knife
okay.
was their grandfather's knife from when he was a Marine in 1920 or 1950?
Okay, I thought about that. So see, the Wagner case. Okay, one of the guns that they used in the commission of the murder of 8 people was a very obscure weapon. It was like in 1911. Okay, not a whole lot of people make it, and not a whole lot of people own it. And how I cannot, but they figured it out. They figured it out.
Oh, look, and this is the thing, and we're relying on them figuring it out. We are
Right.
definitely, but in terms of like the, at the moment, God knows what they've got going on behind the scenes. I reckon they'll be building a pretty strong case, absolutely already. And I think there's obviously crimes happen, and there's something that always leads to their being caught eventually. No doubt about it. It's just fun playing devil's avocado and throwing the what
Exactly.
if
And the
back.
thing is that those kind of hazmat suits, they don't just be giving those things away.
Oh, no, I'm sure. No, you can easily, like when I used to go and see my dad.
Not here, though.
But we used to, because they were disposable, like you'd put them on, and then they would say you need to pop them in the bin outside the front door, because you were in like a part of the hospital where there might have been golden staph or whatever. So you had to actually dispose them in this bin outside of the hospital, like at the front door when you walked out. You could easily just keep going with it. It wasn't hard to souvenir it, not that anyone would want to.
Okay, see, I'm thinking about like when my oldest son was in the NICU and we had the disposable gowns, and you couldn't leave the NICU with the gown on. You had to take it off. Mm-hmm. And then I was thinking this other thing about the Wagner case too. So when they went and looked, there were 2 footprints, and at first they thought it was just one.
Oh, wait a sec, just on the suit thing, you can get the same suits for painting. And hey, Emily Felicello, I thought you were snoozing. I used to wear. She used to wear Tyvek jumpsuits in a clean room. But also with COVID, like, there's access to all sorts of equipment and N95 masks and stuff that we never used to be able to get, that we can all get now.
But most of those things are things that you would have to order online. You cannot just go down to your local Walmart and get them. You could get them from Amazon, but again, there would be a record.
I just think if we're gonna like at the moment, if we're sticking with this was incredibly well planned, I just think all of these things would have been thought through by this person. All of it.
I do.
And there's ways to get something. You can pay cash.
You can, but it's almost virtually impossible in this day and age for people to live 100% off the grid. And people.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure.
there's always a record. There's always somebody. Big Brother in the United States is always watching. We have cameras everywhere. Traffic lights have cameras. I mean, everywhere has cameras. It's almost impossible for you not to have your image captured on a camera somewhere at some point. I mean, hell, even Walmart back in the day when they had their TVs or whatever, and they had all their digital recorders, they had one on all the time in the TV department, and people were captured all day long.
Yeah.
They have them,
look, there was just a guy that went nuts in a Walmart somewhere with a knife, and everyone was going, "Oh my God, he's at it again!" And you're like, "You reckon somebody who's currently sitting out there in the world who's just got away with these 4 murders for now is going to choose their next crime and is going to be at a Walmart, you reckon? No,
Yeah, that
casino.
makes no sense.
Sorry, it was a casino. Even
Yeah,
more
that
cameras.
makes no sense.
No, it doesn't make any sense at all. With the chatter, Shanna's predicting it'll be sold within 90 days because, yeah, there's so many resources being thrown at it. And definitely the FBI would be way smarter because they know what they've got all that profiling experience and access to so much more
but
technology.
The FBI, and the FBI has access to getting things like records, Facebook activity, social media, stuff like that, digital evidence that takes longer for local PD to get a hold of. They have a farther reach, the feds do. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is the thing. This is, again, why I am so infuriated by not just the media pushing this whole look at how incompetent LE are being and feeding the sleuths who are already saying that. Like, they're completely ignoring the fact, like I said earlier, that the FBI are involved. Like, this is your country's best experts on this case.
Yes.
And God knows what other resources they're accessing as well. And to be sort of, it's been 4 weeks, come on, look how slack the cops are. Now, admittedly, at the start, they did make statements that changed. Like, they originally said they thought someone was targeted, and then they shifted to the house is targeted, and then they went back to they think they did make a few errors, but they're not experienced at standing in front of cameras in their faces. And, you know, you can explain away things like that occurring at the start. They probably learned their lesson very quickly because you notice now the difference in the press conferences. Yeah, they've been worded up by the FBI.
Hey, let me show you guys how to. This is how we want you. These are the things you say, and
let's write you a script.
Yes,
because you can tell he was very off the cuff at the start.
Yes,
because I mean, the media are going to keep hassling you and hounding you, and they're all standing there demanding answers. But so is the community. But yeah, you can see the difference now in how measured the press conferences are, and also how measured the press releases are. So. The FBI, and that's why all these people sitting back going, the cops are so incompetent, they haven't solved it yet. And it's like, well, have you actually listened to who's working on this case right now?
And they call it the CSI.
Do you know who's in charge? Yeah.
But
it is. Better be over in an hour. We can't have one of those to be continued episodes. It's all got to be in 1 hour.
But has anybody ever actually paid attention to the episodes on CSI? They're not solved. They squish it together in an hour, but it's over a weeks and weeks period of time. I'll go you one better because I'm fascinated by Criminal Minds because it is based around the actual behavioral science unit. I loved watching the show Mindhunter for the exact same reason. There are people that it's their sole job to take the tiniest, most minute detail of a crime scene that is not obvious, that isn't something like, obviously the stab wounds those are very obvious, but there's also, I promise you, other smaller, tinier details. And it is somebody's job at the FBI. There's more than one person. It's just not one person. Wouldn't that be awful if it was just one person, but it's multiple people, right? But it's their sole job to look at the tiny details and try to figure out what that person was thinking. That's how they come up with profiles. This is okay. If it were one homicide, it wouldn't be solved in a week. So why can't we? This is 4. So it should take 4 times longer than an individual homicide. Think about it like that, because it's a 4 times bigger crime scene.
Yep. In fact, it's even bigger than 4 times in a way because, I mean, obviously you've got the victims, but also just the nature of college houses and the number of people that go through them and so on. I mean, there's plenty of houses where crimes are committed that literally the only people that are ever in that house are the occupants. They don't have any guests or visitors or anyone. So
that's true.
When they pick up some random DNA, it's like, well, ka-ching. But in a house like that...
And also think about the age range of the victims in this case. The thing about kids, and to me, they're kids this age, because I'm old. I'm 45 years, so I'll be 46 in
Stop
January.
it. Well,
Yeah.
hang on a sec. Wait a minute. Interesting. Wait a minute. Very interesting.
What?
Because I'm 55, so for starters, stop saying you're old. I'm a decade older than you. I'm going to be 56 in January too.
Shut up. When? Are you an Aquarius or Capricorn?
I'm a Capricorn.
I'm an Aquarius. I'm the 28th.
Okay. Right, I'm the 12th.
Oh, wow. My mom's was the 21st, so backwards.
We've got the we've got the same birth month as well. Interesting.
We have a lot of things in common.
I have a very top-heavy Aquarius chart too. Most people, when they meet me, don't pick me as a Capricorn. They often think I'm like people that are really into astrology. They pick me straight away as an Aquarian because of my constant fight for humanity.
That's me too. I'm forever advocating for like I'm always have I get down to where I've been watching YouTube too long and I have almost lost faith in humanity, and then something will just be like, what is wrong with you? No, you cannot give up on humanity, and I'll just keep at it and keep going again and trying to convince people, hey, come on, put yourselves in the other person's shoes for a minute.
And that's all we want people to do when they come to this channel. Like if you can't, like especially with like I'll give an example, Kylie Rodney's mum, and when she spoke at Kylie's celebration of life and how critical people were of her. And it's like, if you can't put yourself in someone else's shoes and try to visualize the sort of life that they have and the community that they live in and the sort of person that they are, there's no point criticizing them. Like, don't sit there going, well, I wouldn't have let my 16-year-old go to a party anyway. It's irrelevant. It's not you or your kid that's part of this story. Shut up.
Exactly.
There's an Aquarian in the chat, and she's a very good friend of mine too. It's beautiful, Xana.
Xana.
Emily Flotilla's freaking out, going, wait, 68 here. Yeah, but you're the youngest 68-year-old that ever walked the earth. Ruth says, don't start on ages. I'm so old I creak. Hey, Jack Green. And I've gone straight to Hobart and I'm having a beer at Jack Green's. Investigators have to be thorough and get it right without taking shortcuts. Indeed, they do. We don't want the rush to judgment defense. We definitely want, what was it that the Chief Lanier said, which was such a good line, that we're not aiming for an arrest, we're aiming for a conviction.
Yes.
And that's what people should be focusing on, like, all the time. And as a defense lawyer who is unfortunately very proficient at getting acquittals, I know how easy it is to get an acquittal when the prosecution are rushed to go ahead and charge someone, and it's bad. I mean, even conscience-wise for me as a lawyer with my client, knowing that they were walking just because of the little fuck up or the rush job by prosecution was like, it was way more fulfilling to have an acquittal because you had evidence that supported their innocence.
Right.
So there was always
an actual innocence claim. See, that's where I am. When I would speak about a case of somebody that's convicted, I always want it to be a claim of actual innocence, not they didn't get their Miranda rights read to them.
Yeah.
Like something
Scout. You share beautiful Scout Inquirer's dog Mila's birthday. So cute.
I love it.
It was so cute.
Babe,
And
I don't want to get off, but I have to get going. I promised I would be there a little bit early, but I want to leave you with this parting thought because I know you were on my community tab. So if you were on my community tab, you read my community post. Okay. Now I got that news last Friday about my granddaughter. Okay. And I went and clicked Criminality, Teresa's link, because she was talking about this case. Most people might think, and I probably would have too, although I wouldn't have said anything, I might have thought it. What the hell is she doing? She's just got this, horrible news, and she's up on a panel talking. What I didn't understand then, and I've learned because of this, is that sometimes you have to compartmentalize, especially in a situation where I know rationally I'm doing everything that I can do and I can't do anymore. And sitting around and thinking about it and overanalyzing it and being sad about it, I'm sad all the time. I cry all the time. But stuff this is a distraction for me, and it is exactly what I need.
Absolutely. And I mean, much love to you too. And
Thank you.
I know that Scout's been dropping the link to your channel in chat as well. So hopefully a lot of the people in our chat will jump over and sub to you,
Yes.
and they'll know what you're talking about too. But look,
Yeah.
I'm always very quick to jump on anyone who's scathing of like the rude checks, for example, and saying they should just
Right.
get off social media. No, it's not up to us to say that at all. Like if I'd lost somebody, I would be trying to find that information out from whatever source, but also coming to this platform where we do have such close connections to people around the world. Like it is comfort and it is
Yeah.
nice to be around people. And for every horrible person saying horrible things about their daughter and granddaughters, there are also hundreds of people wrapping them up in love, and they should be allowed to
Exactly.
be on this platform. It's not up to us to say, get the hell off there. So yeah,
You guys,
whatever it
yeah,
takes for us all to get by, And again, it's
exactly.
putting yourself in someone else's shoes and not judging them because you wouldn't do it. It's
Right.
being
You
mindful
think
that for them, that might be the best place for them to be.
exactly. You don't, and I've said this 11 billion times. Nobody knows what they would do until they're there.
Yeah, yeah,
You don't know what you would do. You don't
no.
know.
And
You
whatever
have
gets
no
you
way
through the
of knowing.
day, do it, in my opinion,
Exactly.
whatever it is,
And hanging
whatever
out
it
with
is.
cool ass people like you, Tor, and your chat are, you have no idea how cathartic it is for me. It's such, I love having these kinds of conversations and the back and forth. I'm going to come back, and we're going to do this again. And I want you to play the
Absolutely. And
devil's avocado.
we love having you here too. And look,
Thank you.
it's our little channel. We've got the best community. I love them.
You
They're
do.
funny and fun and also really caring and loving. Very
Yes.
lucky.
I
Very
would rather
lucky.
have 20 cool people, good-hearted people in my chat than
Hmm.
2,000 assholes.
Me too. Me
I'm
too.
about quality over quantity.
Yes, well, you might. Me too, and we use that line here all the time.
Yeah.
We may all see you over on Lynn's panel shortly too, because I'll wrap
Okay,
this up in a
babe.
minute. We might all come over and say good day. I hope I don't
Thank you
get
so
blocked when if
much.
Lynn
You
works out who I
won't.
am.
You won't. You won't. All
So we
right,
might
Tor,
see
I'm
you
out
in
of
action
here.
in a sec.
Thank you so much for
Much
having
love.
me.
Thanks
Good
so much,
night.
Jen.
You're
Bye,
welcome.
gorgeous.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Bye. So I've dropped the link just before again of where Jen's going to be. Some of you remember Mel and I doing, quality always wins around here. We clearly didn't get quantity with a few people. Whatever was that comment, this live is pointless. That made me laugh. To be doing a live based on talking about facts and other cases and things like that is pointless. Yeah, I guess we're not feeding the need for bullshit for that person. I'm so sorry we couldn't deliver. What was I going to say though first? Oh yes, so for those of you who saw Mel and I doing a couple of parodies as Natalia and Linley, Jen is on the panel for Lynn, who I was parodying. So I will pop in and see if I survive her chat or if I get properly removed. I won't go in there as Linley though. Imagine that. That would be a bit much. You prefer quantity of money. May I throw in a request? A young boy in palliative care had a goal. Oh, what, to show the video? I'll definitely show it in something else. Like I'm not going to end with this live, but Emily, I'll make a note of it for sure. That's incredible. 125K in 24 hours. Yeah, I mean, I've found some really funny little videos, and I also know that Wake the Truck Up America's made some stuff too, which I really want to check out first. But I do like ending lives with some fun stuff, but not on when we're talking about the murders of these poor kids in Idaho. If that's all right, I hope you understand why I'm going down that road. Oh, Kraken, sub and say that. Thank you, darling. Yeah, all right. Kraken the Box, great name. It's actually lunchtime here too. So I'm going to end this live. Thanks again to Jenn Lu and to everyone in chat and a few new people wandering in. It's always great to see and chat with new people. I hope some of them come back. Clearly a couple aren't going to. That's how we sift through here. Bless. But, they might come back down the track and go, actually, I want to have a chat with people that are discussing facts and just being responsible and reasonable for a change. You never know. Or they may come back when we're doing some scam baiting and actually find that a bit less than pointless, a bit more than pointless, less than pointless. Thanks to the mods. You guys are awesome. It was fun, Scout. And thank you, Emily. And I'm really, the other thing too is like, even with Wake the Truck Up America, like I'm really cautious now after I played that link that a sub dropped in my chat one night about the Vegemite ad, and I played it and had a strike against my other channel. I do need to vet stuff. So sorry, Emily, I just went straight into, no. It's one thing I'm never going to do again. It wasn't that subscriber's fault. She had no idea the person behind that channel was a complete jerk. But yeah, these days I'm super careful. So that was the link one more time for where Jenn Lu is going to be. So she's over with Lynn, who used to be, I don't know if they still do stuff together or not, but she used to be Natasha Cooper's sidekick, and she's got this panel together of people, and they're going to be talking about adventures with purpose. So if you've been following that, yeah, that naughty Vegemite guy was terrible. It was. Yeah, if you're interested in the AWP story, I'm going to listen to it while I make some lunch. You do. You're not into the small talk, Joman, and I love that about you. Although it did make me laugh when you wrote to me about how you're not into small talk. You wrote the longest comment you'd ever written, and I was like, not that it was small talk, but it was a long paragraph. It made me smile. And besides, you know, we all have X amount of words to use in a day. You want to use them wisely, right? I should have explained that. That's a joke I used to do on stage. I'll have to do that another day. I read an article that said women say 7,000 words a day, men say 5,000, or women say 7,500 words a day, I think it was, and men say 2,500 words a day. So it's like, so, you know, at the end of the day, when your partner comes home and they're grunting, don't pressure them to talk because they've already run out of words. Anyway, thank you again to the mods. Thank you, beautiful Scout. I'll just do a little slide over so you can see you. Oh, look. I don't know. I'm worried about Sunny. I just don't think she quite knows how to relax. Just bugs me. She always looks on edge and on high alert. And I wish she'd just chill out. I'm looking forward to your wall of text, Joman. Yeah, she knows I'm talking about it because she's starting to pretend to be awake and doing stuff. But yeah, look at her. I don't know, guys. Do you think I should take her to the vet? I don't think she knows how to relax at all. Flat on her back, legs spread. She doesn't give a shit. She's actually crossed her little legs over the back now, though. We do love Sunny. She's a hoot. Mind you, she's the easiest animal to have in the house. She literally lives on that ottoman. I'm surprised I don't have to deliver her dinner on a tray with a glass of wine. Here you go, Sunny. Enjoy. All right, I might see some of you groovers over at Lynn's. This is going to be interesting. Hopefully. Well, I'm not going to say in chat, hey, I'm Lindley, because that would be... But anyway, we'll go over there and have a look and give Jen some support as well. Anxiety is certainly not Sunny's problem. But thanks, groovers. There's going to be a lot of lives happening in the next week or so, right up till Christmas from me, because I'm... well, there's not going to be a lot, but there'll be more than usual. I've got quite a few different Australian stories I don't want to do. I've been meaning to do the Bruce Lim and Brittany Higgins story for a while, and every day there's a new update, so I'll be doing that. We've also just had a really horrible crime in Australia that's pretty much shocked the nation, and it's not your typical Australian crime story, so I want to have a little chat about that as well. I've got a new scammer. The other one, I know if I message him, he'll chat again, but he's already boring me, whereas this other dude, I think we definitely have to scam bait him next because he's something else. I don't even know how to pronounce his name because there's a typo in it. So there's a lot of things happening, and also hopefully I'm going to get some things happening on the Tasmania Calling channel before too long because it's losing subs by the daily. So I really need to get some stuff happening over there. Have a great day, everyone. She loves this tower over here, but that one up there, no. It's not fixed. It's still my friend Roger, who was feeding her for a week, didn't take the time to tighten it for me. But oh no, we'll do. Frank will be back. Don't worry. But I've got a new one that's perfect. I mean, I literally said hello to him yesterday at about 5:30 when I was leaving work, and he rang me 20 times while I was driving home. Like, the guy is intense. Anyway. May see you over. I'll drop the link one more time. Thank you for everyone for hanging out. Thanks to every single groover who came in and commented, even the ones of you, even the one who thought this live was pointless. Big shout out to you too, you little smoother. Hopefully you'll come back soon, like the rest of you. And until next time, groovers, don't get hit by, don't get struck by smooth criminal.
DJ Guabacha.
Ooh.